Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and this is a disclaimer. Kids, don't paint your blasters all black. Don't even paint them mostly black, honestly. It's just not a good idea, especially in the United States in the current climate. It's just not a safe thing to do. At the very least, always leave the barrels orange, or at least have something that you can put on to make it orange. I understand a lot of you out there do cosplay or historic reenactment stuff, in which case you need to have the gun look as realistic as possible. That's lovely, but be smart about it. Be safe about it. Don't be stupid. That being said, let's take a look at an arsenal that's almost entirely black. Yeah, that's a lot of almost entirely black blasters. Honestly, it looks, not all that different than my own arsenal, to be perfectly honest. General similar color scheme. The biggest difference is, of course, his symbol, the Grendel face. There's also a lot of, you can't really, I doubt it shows up well on the camera at all, but there's actually a fair amount of gunmetal accents, things like the priming, handles and various accent parts have been done in a gunmetal, which really gives it a lot of character, I feel, here and there. Most of the 3D parts have been repainted in the gunmetal. But yeah, a lot of black, not always a good idea. Use common sense, children. Don't go waving your Nerf guns at police officers. Anyway, let's go through the arsenal. Starting at the bottom, I suppose. The Nemesis, he got an early Nemesis pretty much before most people in the US because he went through Coat Duck in Canada because they were released in Canada before the US, and she got him a pair, and one of them went to her and the other one came to me, and I never actually got to modify this one. I had it at the first mod party that Out of Darts came to, and the look on his face was a kid in a candy store when I pulled it out, and he asked if I minded if he opened it up and took a look, and he promptly disappeared for the entire rest of the mod party off in one corner, and when he came out, he had completely upgraded the internals. So that was awesome. We also all signed the Hopper, all of us local nerfers, Walcom, the Curator, Out of Darts, John, and, yeah, Beret. Brett sometimes wears a beret. Yeah, so other than that, it's got, obviously, the paint job with gunmetal, and I made sure that the stripes just barely showed through, which I think had a really, really cool effect how that came out. I have also added a voltmeter that goes on when you rev, so you know what your operating voltage is, which is, of course, the more useful information. Safety, I believe, is still intact. And yeah, so it came out pretty good. I do think I do still need to put the thumb screw on it. They sent a bunch of thumb screws for them, so just need to add that, and then this thing is ready to go. Love how that one turned out. We'll finish the rival first. Next one was his Hurricane. Again, the interesting and complicated part of this was done by Out of Darts, but he had broken one of the parts, so he sent it to me both to get the paint job and have a voltmeter added, which I've done. I've added it right here. Once again, it triggers on rev, so you can see your operating voltage. And of course, same paint job. All the 3D stuff has got the gunmetal paint job on it, and there's some gunmetal detailing here and there, but for the most part, this one came out fairly black. Yeah. It's quite lovely. I may have to get myself one of these someday, just because it's so eminently functional and fairly simple. I do have all the 3D printed parts now, or at least most of them. So if I ever got myself another Zeus, I could. The only one I had has been had some parts removed. Anyway, that one should be a lot of fun. It has a higher rate of fire than the Nemesis, though it doesn't have the capacity, so a bit of trade-off there. Next, we have the Artemis, and it has the all of the best upgrades. It's got the streamlined pump instead of the handle pump, which I like. Not a huge fan of this particular design, but I see a couple of reasons of why it was done the way it was done. I would have done something, tried to go on with something a little bit slimmer, possibly bring it all the way up to here. and I would have had Picatinny rails, so you could have put a grip on it, especially an angled grip. That's what I'd really like. But this one is definitely solid, doesn't go anywhere. It also, of course, has the stock attachment point that Out of Darts prints. This was also by Out of Darts, by the way. And then it does have K26. This was the one that I featured in my K26 episode, and then put it back in. It also has the Grendel face and some gunmetal accents here and there. You can also just barely see the stripes coming through. I really like how those are just hinted in there. And this is actually my worker stock, but it's the one I'm using to demonstrate. So that one will be an excellent non-battery operated rival blaster. So that was one of the earliest ones I actually modified. Next, we get into Springers. This one I should probably do a whole video on just so I can show off its stock mount. But this is, of course, a Busby Titan with a stock mount, which was remarkably easy, it turned out. Same thing, painted, all the detailing, all the parts that came off got gunmetal, the magazine got gunmetaled, these parts all got gunmetaled, and then of course the logo. Tragically, apparently between the time that I did my K26 and the time that this one came out, the internals are different. Mine took K26 with no problem. I put the spring in, it primed, it caught, no problem. This one could not get it to catch. I don't know if they changed the design of the plunger head or the plunger or what, but this one definitely could not take K26. I tried and it didn't work, so I just ended up doubling it up from using the spring that came out of mine. So that worked out well. And then I simply took one of the Artemis stock attachment points that I acquired from Out of Darts, and I need to tighten that down a little bit, but it fit just fine. And this thing is, I think, gorgeous. I definitely need to get mine painted up and put a stock attachment point on it. I'm definitely going to have a little bit more orange. All of the accents that were gunmetal in this will be orange on mine. And then it'll have my Zombie Strike logo on it, or my X-Strike logo on it somewhere. But this thing is just beefy and beastly and double the capacity of a Centurion, and probably has better range and accuracy. So I really like how this one came out, especially like the stock attachment point, because it definitely wanted something. Something this big needed one. And I was worried that it would be too long, and then it wouldn't end up being comfortable, but it ended up being very comfortable with the stock. He actually asked me if I could make this one pump action, but the thing is just so big there really wasn't any way you'd ever be able to prime it if you did that, especially not with a stock. You'd barely be able to reach the end of the blaster, much less a grip that was further forward than that. So love how that one came out. Getting into some earlier and smaller ones, we'll jump up to this one. Did a Raven. This was one of the earliest Ravens I've actually done. And it's, I mean, there's nothing terribly fancy about it either. I do have a suppressor on it just because he sent a whole bunch of those and this looked like a blaster that it fit nicely on. Plus, I think it's the only one in this entire collection that has a stock attachment point, or a barrel attachment point, so it needed to go somewhere. Probably going to put one of his little pinpoint sights on it as well, just because I think that'll look really slick on this particular blaster. It does have 180s in it. He asked for 180s. I, in general, not a huge fan of 180s, but I didn't mind on this one. I attempted to get a flared magwell, but it was not as well designed as I had hoped, and it kind of stuck. So this one also doesn't have as much gunmetal. There's a little bit here, a little bit here, the battery door, the jam door, and then of course the logo there on the back. Everything else has been upgraded, of course. He may have to eventually get an expanded battery door. I couldn't find an STL for one, but he wants to run a LiPo in it, and I don't know what LiPo he's planning to run that's going to fit in there. Probably he's going to need an expanded battery door. And possibly he'll need to send it back, and we'll need to figure out somewhere else to put a LiPo. But I like working with Ravens, it turns out, and I'm definitely going to need to get mine upgraded. And I actually did start repairing one, but I don't think I ever finished it, so I'll need to finish that and get that out there. Next, we have a pair of Strongarms. They have upgraded springs. I was going to try to do a higher capacity cylinder, but I couldn't find one that actually worked. The ones that I got printed, the rotation mech was not fine enough to actually function because of that after firing rotation mech. It needs to be very smooth, and the 3D printed one was not smooth enough. It would need to have been probably resin cast or something similar, and I didn't have access to that, so we ended up just going back to the original cylinders and going with just a heavier spring. Now, one thing, this was kind of an experiment in gloss versus flat, and I have no idea if it's going to show up on there at all, but this one has the gloss vinyl die, and this one has just regular black, or flat black vinyl die. And the first thought that we had was to do, some of them he does want to have stock, more or less stock internals, so that they're safe to use, around children, and we were going to do gloss on the non-modded ones and flat on the modded ones. But it turns out there isn't a clear enough difference for you to really be able to easily tell. One thing that we have discussed going forward is anytime there's a matched set, doing one of them black with gunmetal detailing and the other one gunmetal with black detailing. And I think that's going to be a really neat effect, having mirrored pairs like that. So that'll be something to look forward to. He sent me 2 of most things, so that will probably end up being what happens in the future. Is one of them will be black and the other will be gunmetal, so that'll be neat. These ought to make a lovely matched pair. Let's take a look at the long arms. These ones I showed off in a previous video as soon as I got them done. There really has only been one addition to them since then, which is the expanded battery doors, which I got 3D printed. They also have thumb screws, which is nice. This is the pinpoint sight that I mentioned. He sent a couple of these, and they're fairly nifty. Oh, I see. That's how that works. Good. That means that other one is working. So yeah, they're neat pinpoint sights, and they have either reticles or just pinpoints or crosses. It's fairly nifty. This is the G36. I think there was something else he wanted on these, like a foregrip, maybe a canted foregrip. I don't remember which. Things like that, of course, he can acquire and add on separately. That doesn't actually need to be done by me. I think these may still need to have some of their retaining screws tightened and possibly some of their... No, this one has all of its screws. But I think the rail is still loose. But it's a really, really nice kit, done by worker, very clean, very smooth. All the 3D printed parts have been done in gunmetal, and then the rest is in flat black with his logo. Logo used to be on the battery door, but the battery door is left, and so there's now just kind of the remnant of the logo left. But he's right-handed, so this is the side he's going to see anyway. So that one came out quite lovely. Next, we have his AK. And for those that don't know, these are auto strikes, as well they should be. They have the first gen auto strikes in them as opposed to the select fire, which is what will probably get put in future ones. Same story, gunmetal accents, logo, flat black. Again, this is my stock, but he'll probably want to get the exact same one because it just looks so good with this blaster. This one I think does actually need a few screws put back in it because I had it open to modify some stuff. But other than that, it is good to go. Yep, still needs a few screws. But these are lovely. I really like the worker kits. I think I've got one more or two more that need to go on. I also have some vector kits. That's going to be the first contrasting pair. There'll be one gunmetal vector and one black vector. And that's just going to be a fun build to do. And finally, we have his hammer shot, which was the very first one that I actually got finished, but he said to go ahead and wait until I had the rest, and then it kind of got buried, and I decided that for Christmas, I wanted to send him 12 blasters, and so there is going to be a full dozen. These 10 modified ones, and then 2 Chronos, the Deadpool Chronoses with K26 in it. He, of course, got a pair of those, so those will be going, as well as some gifts from the Curator and from Out of Darts and some other stuff. But this one, I really like how it came out. This was the first one I did. Also, lots of gunmetal accent, and then flat black with the logo, and the metal hammer kit, which is lovely. The 8-round cylinder and a leather hand-wrapped handle. That came out really, really pretty. I may have to do that on mine. just because it came out so lovely and covers up that faux wrap that nobody really likes. So, yeah, there you have it. There is Jomo's Christmas Arsenal. This is, for those of you who don't know or who are new to my channel, Jomo is my patron, which is an ancient concept that artisans would have of somebody with more money than they really need, and they would patronize an artisan and make sure that they always have materials, make sure that they always have work. If they ever have downtime or have built something that nobody else wants, the patron will pretty much always buy it. And in this case, he sent a several huge shipments of blasters that I can work on whenever I don't have anything else to work on. I then got inordinately busy and took me forever to actually get around to getting anything for him. Starting next year, I'm going to be making some changes to my channel, and one of them is that there's going to be at least one build for him every month, however simple or complicated it may be. He does have some really complicated builds in mind, actual integrations and really inventive stuff and unique stuff. All of this was pretty much just internal modifications and a paint job. But some of the stuff that I'll be working on next year for him will be much more complicated with various integrations and all of that, which should be a lot of fun. I am looking forward to that. I'm also hoping to start taking commissions again next year, but again, it's going to be very few and far between. Possibly as little as one a month. So stay tuned for that. Don't start emailing me now. I already have an inordinate wait list, so I will let you know when I am available again. But for now, I'm still not taking new commissions. I've almost finished up everything that I had this year. That is my goal, to get everything done from this year and start with a clean slate at the beginning of next year. So I'm looking forward to getting all of this shipped, hopefully tomorrow. And then I will be working on a few last things, and then hopefully starting on a new build for myself, as well as finishing my big project that I've been working on all year. I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the year. So we will see. Stay tuned. Jomo, you're awesome, and I hope this first wave meets with your expectations, and I'm really looking forward to working on more stuff next year. So there you have it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just want to complain that Jomo is taking all of my time, go ahead and do so in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.